The transmission came through at exactly 0347 Standard Galactic Time. Commander Vexlar of the Zentari Scientific Council stared at the emergency beacon flashing on his display screen with a mixture of confusion and growing dread. The expedition to planet XR7 had been his greatest achievement. 3 years of planning, 80 months of preparation. The finest scientific minds from 7 different species assembled together for the first comprehensive study of alien wildlife on an uncharted world. Now, only 6 days into the mission, everything had fallen apart. Vexler pressed his 3-fingered hand against the communication panel. His gray skin rippled with stress patterns as he opened the channel. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Dr. Thrin, the lead xenobiologist. The Calvari scientist looked absolutely terrified. His 4 eyes were wide open, and his scales had turned pale white. "Commander," Dr. Thrin whispered urgently, "we are requesting immediate evacuation. The mission is compromised. I repeat, the mission is completely compromised." Vexler leaned forward in his chair. What happened? Was there an attack? Equipment failure? Disease outbreak? Dr. Thrin shook his head slowly. "Worse, Commander. Much worse." He paused and looked around nervously before continuing. "It's the humans." Vexler felt his stomach drop. The humans. Of course it was the humans. When the Galactic Council had insisted on including 2 human scientists in the expedition, Vexler had protested. Everyone had heard the stories about humans. They were new to the galactic community, having achieved space travel only 2 centuries ago. They were curious, fearless, and completely insane by any reasonable standard. But the Council believed in diversity and cooperation. They believed that humanity's unique perspective would benefit the mission. "Tell me everything," Vexler said quietly. Dr. Thrin took a deep breath and began his report. The expedition had landed on planet XR7 without any problems. The world was beautiful and dangerous in equal measure. Dense purple jungles covered most of the surface. Strange creatures moved through the trees and across the ground. The scientific team had set up their base camp in a cleared area near a freshwater lake. Everyone followed the safety protocols. They wore protective suits. They kept their distance from the wildlife. They documented everything from behind energy barriers. Everyone except the humans. The first incident happened on day 2. Dr. Sarah Chung, a human biologist, had wandered away from the group during a survey mission. When her colleagues found her, she was sitting on the ground near a creature called a thornback. The thornback was a large reptilian animal covered in poisonous spines. Its venom could kill most species within minutes. The creature had its massive head resting in Dr. Chun's lap. She was scratching behind its ears. "She was scratching behind its ears," Dr. Thrin repeated, his voice cracking with disbelief. The creature was purring. Nobody knew thornbacks could purr. The scientific team had panicked. They had raised their weapons and prepared to shoot the creature. But Dr. Chun had waved them away. She said the thornback was friendly. She said it just wanted attention. She said it reminded her of her grandmother's dog back on Earth. The creature had eventually wandered off peacefully, leaving behind a very confused and very disturbed group of alien scientists. Dr. Marcus Webb, the other human on the team, had been even worse. On day 3, he had discovered a nest of crimson stalkers. These were perhaps the most dangerous predators on planet XR7. They were fast, intelligent, and extremely aggressive. Their claws could cut through metal. Their teeth could crush bone. They hunted in packs and showed no mercy to their prey. Every other species in the galaxy knew to avoid crimson stalkers at all costs. Dr. Webb had walked right up to the nest. He had crouched down next to the baby stalkers and started making strange, high-pitched noises. The team watched in horror from their observation post. They expected to see him torn apart within seconds. Instead, the mother stalker had approached him cautiously. She had sniffed his outstretched hand. Then she had allowed him to touch her offspring. Dr. Webb had spent the next hour playing with the baby stalkers while the mother watched calmly. He said they were cute, Dr. Thrin reported. He said they reminded him of foxes. I had to look up what a fox was. It's a small predator from Earth. The humans keep them as companions. They keep predators as companions, Commander. On purpose. The situation had escalated quickly after that. Word spread among the crew about the humans' strange abilities. Some species were fascinated. Others were terrified. The Yulvari botanist refused to work anywhere near the humans. He said their behavior was unnatural and disturbing. The Zentari engineers started a betting pool on which human would get killed first. Nobody won because neither human ever got hurt. On day 4, Dr. Chun encountered a swamp lurker. This creature was essentially a giant mouth with tentacles. It lived in muddy water and grabbed anything that came too close. Its digestive acids could dissolve organic matter in seconds. When Dr. Chen accidentally fell into its pool, the team assumed she was dead. They started composing her death notification to send back to Earth. Then Dr. Chen emerged from the water, completely unharmed, with the swamp lurker wrapped around her arm. She was cooing at it and calling it adorable. The creature was making happy, bubbling sounds. It followed her back to camp and refused to leave. The team had to build it a special habitat because Dr. Chun insisted they couldn't just abandon it. She named it Bubbles. The scientific mission began to fall apart. Nobody could focus on their research when the humans were constantly interacting with deadly creatures. Every species had survival instincts. Every species knew to avoid things that could kill them. Every species except humans. The humans seemed to see danger as an invitation. They approached lethal predators like they were meeting old friends. They touched poisonous plants to see what would happen. They tasted unknown substances because they were curious about the flavor. Dr. Webb discovered that the acid-spitting volcanic worms actually enjoyed having their bellies rubbed. Dr. Chun found out that the massive sky hunters, which could swallow a person whole, became docile when you spoke to them in a calm voice. Both humans started keeping detailed notes about how to befriend each dangerous species they encountered. They planned to publish a guidebook when they returned to civilized space. The other crew members tried to stop them. They held meetings about safety protocols. They showed presentations about mortality rates. They explained in great detail how many ways the local wildlife could kill a person. The humans listened politely and nodded at all the right moments. Then they went right back to petting everything they could find. On day 5, the situation reached its breaking point. A pack of night terrors surrounded the camp at sunset. Night terrors were the apex predators of planet XR7. They were massive creatures with glowing red eyes and shadow black fur. Their howls could cause paralysis in most species. Their presence meant certain death. The entire camp activated emergency protocols. Everyone retreated to the reinforced shelter. Everyone barricaded themselves inside. Everyone except the humans. Dr. Chun and Dr. Webb walked out to meet the night terrors. They carried no weapons. They wore no protective gear. They simply walked into the darkness, toward the glowing red eyes, as if they were going for an evening stroll. The rest of the team watched through the shelter's cameras. They prepared their emergency evacuation requests. They assumed the humans were committing suicide. The night terrors charged toward the 2 small humans. Their howls filled the air. Their claws tore up the ground as they ran. Dr. Chun stood perfectly still. Dr. Webb crossed his arms and waited. The lead night terror reached them first. It was twice their height and 3 times their weight. Its jaws opened wide enough to swallow them both. It stopped exactly 1 meter away from Dr. Chun's face. She reached up and scratched its chin. The creature's howl transformed into something completely different. It was a sound nobody had ever heard a night terror make before. It was a sound of pure contentment. The massive predator sat down like a trained animal and leaned into Dr. Chan's touch. The other night terrors gathered around, waiting their turn. Dr. Webb started rubbing the ears of the second largest one. The humans spent the entire night outside, surrounded by creatures that could have killed everyone in the camp. When morning came, the night terrors left peacefully. Dr. Chun and Dr. Webb returned to the shelter, completely unharmed, with matching grins on their faces. Dr. Webb said the night terrors were just misunderstood. Dr. Chun said they probably attacked people because nobody ever tried to be nice to them. Dr. Thrin finished his report and looked directly at the camera. Commander Vexlar, I cannot continue this mission. My team cannot function. We are trained scientists. We are supposed to study wildlife from a safe distance. We are supposed to follow protocols. We cannot do our jobs when the humans keep turning apex predators into pets. Vexler understood completely. He had seen similar reports from other expeditions that included humans. There was something fundamentally different about their species. They didn't fear what they should fear. They didn't respect the dangers that kept other species alive. They looked at death and decided to make friends with it instead. I'll arrange for extraction, Vexler said. But what about the humans? Should I include them in the evacuation order? Dr. Thrin laughed bitterly. The humans are staying. They said they want to continue their research. They've already built a shelter closer to the night terror territory. Dr. Chun is trying to domesticate the swamp lurker. Dr. Webb is mapping the Crimson Stalker migration patterns by walking with the packs. He paused and shook his head in disbelief. They asked if we could send more humans next time. They said this planet would make an excellent wildlife preserve. The transmission ended. Vexler sat alone in the darkness of his command center, thinking about what he had just heard. Humanity had only been part of galactic civilization for 200 years. In that short time, they had earned a reputation that confused and frightened every other species they encountered. They weren't the strongest. They weren't the smartest. They weren't the fastest or the most powerful. But they were something else entirely. They were the species that saw a universe full of danger and decided to pet it. The Scientific Council would file the expedition report under the growing category of missions abandoned due to human involvement. The category was expanding every year. Humans kept volunteering for the most dangerous assignments. They kept exploring the deadliest planets. They kept encountering creatures that should have killed them and somehow making friends instead. Nobody understood how they did it. Nobody could explain their strange abilities. Some theories suggested that humans released special pheromones. Others believed they had psychic powers they weren't aware of. The most popular theory was simply that humans were too stubborn and too affectionate to let a little danger stop them from making connections. Somewhere on planet XR7, Dr. Sarah Chen was teaching a pack of night terrors to play fetch. Dr. Marcus Webb was writing his guidebook by campfire light while Crimson Stalkers curled up around him for warmth. Bubbles the swamp lurker was splashing happily in a pond that Dr. Chun had created just for it. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Every species knew this. Every species prepared for this. But humans had found a different approach to survival. Instead of hiding from the monsters, they decided to love them. And somehow, impossibly, the monsters loved them back.